Wow, an official server with people on it. I should buy a lottery ticket. I started the same way I usually do. I headed towards the jungle and scouted any bases I could find along the way. Bit of a weird spot for a pillar base, but you do you, my man. This time though, I didn't even hide the base, I just slapped it right on New River. It's all about efficiency this time. Nice. If you can believe it, they nerfed the way I was using the level, but they left chests alone.
The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Nigga, did I just catch you having fun?
Whatever, let's go get some star metal. Is that supposed to be like that? I feel like I haven't seen that before. That looks a little out of place, my dudes. Got a hot tip for demon blood in the jungle. It's probably easier to kill imps, but this spot right here is a giant snake and a rhino, and they fight each other, and the rhino always wins. It's easy hides, and it gives you 1 demon blood, which is all you really... Wow! Wow! The snake never wins! What? That's the first time I've ever seen that. It's like a bad omen or something. It's gonna enlist the help of this bird over here, but seriously, what the fuck was that about? That's freaky. After quickly obtaining the materials I needed, I combined them into explosive arrows and then headed to the north to get star metal. My favorite part of every star metal trip is using 80% of my explosive materials on rocks that bug out and don't give me any star metal. No, it's great. I'm not even mad. I love physically walking all the way up here with 10 fucking arrows and being able to harvest precisely 1 node. It's great. No, please. Funcom, don't ever fix it. I love it. We made it. Somehow. After only a few hours, we were level 60 with a furnace full of star metal. We were making fantastic time. I left it to cook while I grabbed all my obelisks and did a little bit of extra scouting. Okay, meet your brothers, marking that. I don't even know what this is supposed to be, but it looks dope. Okay, we're gonna see if we can make it to the Icebreaker Chasm and see who lives there before we die of frostbite. Cross your fingers, folks. Alright, that spot looks clear at least. Okay, we made I'm hamming it up, we made it. We just marked that on my map. Hey, a free horse.
I'll put that to good use.
This base is a little chunky. I don't want to take anything just yet, though. It's a huge base, but there's doors to the upper section. I mean, I hear crafter thralls up there, so most of that's still intact. I think the smart move is to come back when I've got some explosives. Ah, we got a sleeper.
A gift for you.
By the time I got home from my trip, the star metal was done and I was ready to move. This time I had a couple more normal raids to take care of, and nobody had ganked me or otherwise gotten on my bad side yet, so I decided to play it straight and move to a regular base location for once. Nothing crazy, just somewhere where I can cook some dragon powder overnight. Alright, that's everything. Let's rumble. I crashed. I got a pack file error while I was moving my base. This is why nobody plays this game. I've never had a game just randomly corrupt 5 gigabytes worth of its own data on a routine basis. Going back to get my stupid body. Doesn't look like anybody looted it, thankfully. There it is. I'm amazed it didn't despawn. It looks like everything's still here at least, but... Anyways, the location I was headed to was right over here. There's a cave in the side of the cliff. It's a fairly small spot, but it's a straight walk from the nearby obelisk, and if you build it correctly, you won't be able to be seen from most angles. It's the ideal spot for an upstart like myself to cook some bombs. My plan was to take the already tiny space and make it even smaller, stacking the benches I had as tightly as I could so I could reduce my overall footprint. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be my roommate, this is about how tight I like to keep my bases. It's not my best work, honestly. There's a lot of dead space, but I've got all the core benches in here, several furnaces, plenty of storage. Go in the back here and drop down, you've got your blacksmith, tannery, some dryers. Drop down over here, you got your fire bowl, armorer's bench, carpenter's underneath it, extra storage. I'll add more benches later, but it's not a bad start, honestly. With the base set, I went out to farm some materials for raid structures, explosives, aloe, and all the usual farms just to get it out of the way. Oh hey, remember the Sobek cave? Yeah, Funcom likes to add cool stuff, and then when people start using it, they just nerf it. Nobody really knows why, but you know, if you're new, there's the Sobek cave. On the way home with my farm, I discovered a base had been built practically right next to mine. Was I blind, or was this not here before? What are the odds, man? The Wet Bandits, what a fucking name. Now, they didn't have direct line of sight onto my base, but if they climbed a nearby ridge to mine iron, they'd see my base very clearly. But to me, it looked like a noob base. It had panthers scattered around it, an exposed animal pen, and crafter thralls inside a tier 1 structure. The longer I left it there, the more panthers they'd have, making it harder to raid, and the more likely it would be that they would see me. But you can call me a pussy if you want, but I'm not in the business of raiding people that are either new or just getting started. So I took the risk and I just left it alone, even though it would have been a lot safer to bomb it. So I didn't raid it, but I just want the record to show I thought about it a lot. I am gonna help myself to these panthers though. What if I wound up being a greater pet? You can't really blame me. Petty theft doesn't count as raiding. Once I had finished cooking some bombs, my plan was to go hit that larger base that I had seen earlier and then hit some slave wheels to maybe get a fighter thrall so I can go unlock the jhebbal religion.
You didn't say the magic word.
Please! God damn it!
Walkable floor? I mean, it looks like a floor to me.
Yep.
And I'm currently walking on it.
Yep.
And if that's the case, it must be walkable floor.
That makes sense to me.
Then let me place it. Oh my god. Okay, no, we did it. Alright. I only brought it to help me hold stuff, and it came in encumbrance anyways. I don't even know why I brought it. That shouldn't have been the hardest part of the raid. You gotta, when you're raiding the stairs, you gotta make like a cradle for the bombs, and then light the one that's on top. It just keeps them from rolling all the way down. Ooh, that looks juicy. The place was loaded. I'll take this, and fuck it, I'll take all of it. I used the remainder of my bombs to clear out the chests. There was star metal, steel fire, legendary weapons, crafting materials, and upstairs. This is why we check raided bases, boys. Now all I need is just one fighter. It doesn't even have to be good. If I can get literally anything. Please have fighters, please have fighters, please. Great. A dancer thrall. I can't wait to go impress jhebbal with my dancer thrall. Please don't say anything. Icing on the cake, I found an exposed tier 3 set altar with enough favor in it to summon a god. Things were starting to look spicy already, and I had a few targets in mind. There were two clans making a lot of noise in the global chat, Frog Clan and Bishes. Both had apparently been running around ganking players and offlining bases. I had already found both of their bases in my earlier scouting runs, so I made it a point to get inside and see what I was really dealing with. Frog Clan was built on the ridge at A11 overlooking the Dead Mountains. This used to be a bit more common of a location to build because its height made it relatively defensible and you can elevate your core structure on one of the pillars on the green wall for added defense. But after the addition of explosive arrows and the increased range on trebuchets, this is a pretty low grade spot for a base. It is close to an obelisk and it's placed in a great spot for resources, but it's not that defensible. It has multiple angles an enemy can easily attack from and it's very difficult to fully build up. I'd put this spot pretty low on my list of subpar but still viable building locations. The terrain does not do as much for you here as you think it might, and the way they had built their base made it incredibly easy to get inside. I mean, at least some of the internal structure is tier 3, but this is not honeycombed at all and the anti-climb leaves a lot to be desired, let's be honest. And they got windows? Man, come on, apply yourselves. I'm gonna give this base a 2 out of 10. Hey buddy, could you warp away so I can go back to judging your shitty base, please? How do these guys not hear? There's like 3 of them inside right now. Bishes instead were located in the frozen ridge at the bottom of D12. Unlike the last spot, this spot has almost nothing going for it. It has no verticality, the terrain offers 0 protection, you're not that close to any good resources compared to any other spot. I mean, you're close to God's Claw Passage, but so is anybody with a map room, and what's more, they had built their base fairly poorly as well. I would not recommend anyone build here, even if your choices are limited. There are a lot better spots out there to build a fort. For the record, the majority of the jungle was still open at the time, including the docks, Watcher at the Passage, and a number of other super viable locations. It is so hard to catch these guys off guard. I just want to look inside. God, there's no way he didn't see me. Every time I come over here. Alright, I wore clothes this time. I lost the first bit of footage, but I tried again. They caught me. They're chasing me. I'm trying to keep my name tag a secret. I don't want them to know that I'm scouting them. No, of course he's got. Where did he even get that horse from? I'm just a naked noob. I've never raided anybody in my life. Honest. Damn. Wow, I actually thought he gave up. I didn't expect him to come back. Great. Now they're gonna know everything.
I slipped.
I thought, maybe he'd buy it.
Now, I still had a free snake on the menu, but with such attentive enemies on both sides, I'd need to plan my attack very carefully. And now that one of them had spotted me scouting them, I wondered if it might have been a good idea to just give it some time, farm up more explosives, and wait for them to lower their guard rather than forcing it to happen early. But the decision wound up being made for me by a completely different issue altogether. Now, I lost the screenshot of my event log here, so you're just gonna have to use your imagination. I logged in the next day to find that all of my dragon powder had been stolen from my fireball cauldron. I thought hackers, undermeshers, cheaters already? But then I saw that before that, my front walls had lost stability. If there's anything I can teach you at all from my videos, it's that your biggest enemy in this game is never going to be another player. It's going to be Funcom 100% of the time. Apparently, after every server update, my front walls would just disappear and lose stability despite being built directly on a foundation. I had noticed this before and I'd replaced that foundation and made sure that they had plenty of stability. And on that given day, the walls fell away anyways, but I replaced them. But for whatever reason on 1584, the server would restart twice a day instead of just once. Again, just Funcom things. And I'm not going to name the guy who took my dragon powder because he was kind enough to only take the dragon powder. He could have cleared out all my benches and taken out all of my thralls, and he chose not to. I mean, for all I know, he could have been planning to come back with a dragon powder and clean me out later, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. The point is, I learned 3 things. Firstly, people knew where I lived. Secondly, they knew my base was stacked with benches. And thirdly, they knew that I was producing dragon powder. Essentially, if I wanted to continue existing without being molested every raid window, I was going to have to move somewhere top secret. The kind of place I could leave a fridge full of God favor and a couple hundred bombs and still sleep like a baby at night. And I had just the place in mind. The spot is located at the top right corner of F12. You can get to it by climbing over a ridge next to the hidden way into the volcano, then climbing across the lava flow. It's not much more than a little crack in the wall, but it's more than large enough to house all my benches, and because of its location, nobody would find me here unless they were coming to check this location specifically. It's far enough from any normal travel path that it won't be picked up by a foundation sweep, and the geography is going to block it from being seen from all angles. It's high up enough that it won't even load in from the ground, even if they could see it. Essentially, it's the perfect spot for a budding terrorist like myself. With just 5 minutes till the raid window, I picked up everything I owned and I made my move. Yeah, we're taking a really roundabout path here for obvious reasons. If anybody kills me, they're gonna be rich. And if I wasn't nervous enough, the server's fucking full right now. It's 40 out of 40. I'm not feeling comfy with this move. Alright, I think I'm in the clear. Typically once you're over the Black Keep, I almost never bump into anybody. Oh my god, what are the odds? Wow, what are the odds? What the fuck ever, dude? I gotta get my shit in boxes. Jesus, of course now. What are the odds of that? Okay, he was just... okay, he was just farming. He walked on past. Ah, holy shit. I don't need that kind of stress in my life. God damn. Whew. If I've ever given the impression that moving your whole base all the time and just carrying your shit around in your pockets makes the game stress-free, understand that he could have tapped me and that would have been it. He could have knocked my stupid ass back to the Stone Age on accident. Despite having no grit or climbing gear, I struggled my way up the cliff and made it to the secret spot. Really struggling here, boys. I got no grit. Jeez. Alright, we made it. What a fucking trip. Let's get this built. Now, at the top of the volcano, you have no access to resources. The trick to making a base like this work is to set up a number of drop sites with map rooms around the map on the ground. That way I could keep a bit of farming gear on the ground, complete all the farming I needed whenever I needed to, and then run it up to the base in a single trip rather than several tedious ones. This would make the farming easier while also reducing the amount of foot traffic to the base, reducing the chances that somebody would follow me home. Plus, the more time I spent on the ground being seen by other players, the less likely they'd be to think I lived somewhere else. If I see anybody out here, I'm just gonna run up and let them see my name tag, make them think I live nearby. Maybe I'll build a decoy base. I could probably even use my old base, just make it look lived in. My dancer thrall just killed Girl Legbiter in front of me. This guy's got no respect. Alright, I'm trying to get the demon blood for the map rooms I need, and these hitboxes are ridiculous. Look at the distance, dude. Unfortunately, from the delay of moving my base and needing to farm up some extra supplies, that tier 3 set altar that was exposed I'd found earlier was walled off by the faction that owned it.
Let me in. Let me in.
Of course! And while the clan that had gotten into my base kindly only took my dragon powder, I kinda needed that for raids. So I had to take my raid plans and push it back a day, get some scouting in, farm up a new god, and get back into it. This god was supposed to be free. What am I doing with my life? With my goods secured and my farming taken care of, I could finally return to my original plan. AKA, start a bunch of shit with larger clans for no reason whatsoever. Some would even say it's my specialty. First on the list was Bishes. I finally got inside their base to do some scouting without them noticing and found out where most of the goodies were located. This base was built disturbingly similar to Frog Clans. There's a lot of tier 1 nonsense in the way, and there's a single tier 3 cube in the middle with almost no honeycombing. Yeah, you know what? After finally scouting this place, I'm gonna give this place a 1 out of 10. I really don't understand why so many people default to building this way. It's like it's a big base, yeah, but it's superficial. You can climb into the interior. The core of the base only has a few doors. I'm using a god for the style points, but I mean, for what it's worth, I could clear out this whole base with 20 bombs and maybe 15 minutes of my time, if even that. Maybe I'll just have to get around to making a proper base building video, because this is just not. This is the perfect example of how not to build a base, especially if you're gonna run around starting trouble. With my scouting done, I hopped in a single player, tested a few locations for summoning set, built a little raid structure on the server, got some explosives cooking, and waited for the next raid window. You know, at this point, I probably could have just built my own altar. It would have been a lot safer. Like, maybe I'm just stubborn. I mean, I had to fully farm up this god when I thought it was going to be free anyways. This altar had no favor in it. Everything's just going wrong on this server. I even farmed at the wrong amount of favor at first, so I had to go back and farm more while this was cooking. That fucking omen's been haunting me this whole time. If this raid goes off without a hitch, I would honestly be floored. Well, it went off without a hitch. I made it to the structure and I'm currently summoning. I'll be damned. The plan here is to get the snake to the back of the base, poke a large enough hole in the main structure, and then continue on forwards because there's another structure behind it. We're going to try to get both of those open. It looks like we're in both. Let's go check it out. In case you're wondering, I only remember to pack a set of light gear, a partial stack of gruel, and 7 aloe potions. What am I doing, YouTube? Once I was inside, I did my best to poke around the bags before they despawned. All in all, there wasn't a whole lot of loot to speak of. Even after coming back with explosives later and popping some of the vaults, there wasn't a whole lot here. These guys were broke. I always start to ask questions when I see hardened steel tools, like did you farm those or did you get them? Because if you farmed them, you wasted your time. If you're not skipping to star metal after stone or iron tools, then you're just not doing it right. For a raid that had been postponed several days, it wound up being a bit of a letdown. I poked around some other bases just to say I did something that day and got to work planning my next raid on Frog Clan. The plan this time was to be bold. I'd get a jhebbal sog and summon it right in front of the base. Since the last time I scouted it, all 3 of them were inside and none of them noticed me running all over their base. I set out to farm up the jhebbal sog, and after obtaining an archpriest and a good chunk of the favor I needed, I got ganked mid-farm by this fucking guy. I'm not gonna call him by his name. He was on horseback, of course. They had made a name for themselves by, of course, ganking people and raiding sandstone, bragging all the while. Imagine being this way, though.
That's disturbing.
The guy that they're talking to is a solo player, so a clan of like 7 dudes went over and wiped a sandstone base, and they're bragging about it in the cringiest way possible. I mean, look, if that's what brings you joy, dude, then do it. I mean, do whatever you gotta do, but in my humble and yet objectively correct opinion, people that play the game this way are plebes and they've got shit taste. I didn't think much of the gang since I was hardly alone in this one. I added their names to the list and got back to farming. I was pretty sure I knew where they lived already, since I had scouted a couple of their structures over at Heliograph Heights. I told myself I'd head over there and scout it a bit more later. For now though, I had to finish farming this jhebbal sog in time for raid hours so I could hit Frog Clan. Except it didn't quite work out that way. There's people at my drop site, and they've been hanging around here for a little while. The first 2 times they killed me while I was loading in at the obelisk, so they're camping my obelisk. Why are they still here? As it turns out, they had moved into the Watcher of the Passage just nearby, and they had used spears to poke through the wall to see that the fridge was full of favor. And every time I warped back in, they would kill me before I had finished loading. They continued to camp the obelisk for another hour or so. I figured things were looking grim, but if I left it for a bit, they would surely lose focus and I could pick up my stuff. So I left, I got something to eat, ran to the store, took a shower, and came back later.
Real corn makes it special.
But when I'd come back after a few hours, they are still camping it. This is becoming a problem. For those of you that are wondering what it's like to play solo on an official server, this is basically it. It's the last server alive. You've got 2 large clans of Chinese exploiters, and the only clan of people that aren't cheating who know how to PvP spend all day raiding noobs and camping obelisks. Of course they're on horseback. They can't even camp an obelisk without being on horseback. Just Conan things. It was pretty clear at this point that they were going to camp it all the way till raid window. What's worse is that most of my other farm tools and everything else that I was using was in the vault nearby. I was literally about to run it up to the main base before they started camping it. Things were not looking good. I needed a plan, or else I'd have just fed a god and a bunch of bombs to the biggest clan of cocksuckers on the server. So I warped back to my base and I thought about it for a minute. I cooked up a plan so I could extract my valuables and make it out alive. The plan was this: I was going to come at the obelisk from the side, run up to the vault, make it look like I emptied it, then lead them away before pulling off my bracelet, spawning at a nearby bedroll, then actually grabbing the stuff and warping away. The only problem here is that there were several of them, and if they didn't all chase me, or if any of them decided to stay behind and just check the favor in the fridge, it wouldn't have worked. It wasn't looking good, but it was the best shot I had, and if I didn't do something soon, I was going to run out of time. Jesus, I'm getting nervous just approaching it. Getting sweaty just looking at it. Knees weak. Palms are sweaty. Vomit on my sweater already. Crumb spaghetti. I don't see him, but I hear the horse in the distance, though. Try to get a little closer here. I don't want to climb up there. They're here. Yeah, definitely still here. He's been here for hours now. I think I can probably get a little closer. The fridge is in the way. It might block his line of sight. I hate how noisy the characters are. I can't seem to find the other guy. There was a second guy here last time I checked it. And I'm willing to bet money that he's probably nearby. But I can't seem to find him. It's just the one guy on the horse. The other guy's probably laying down somewhere just like I am, but... it's a tough play. Doesn't look like he's paying attention. I think I might be able to just grab the fridge and run, honestly. If the fridge area was larger, I could get in there and just eat it all. Like, I'm okay with throwing it away. I just don't want them to have it. We're gonna try to get a little closer. It looks like he's lost focus because he's riding in circles. I'm just gonna try to get a little closer here. Oh, where did he go? Oh. Okay, he didn't see me. He's probably watching the obelisk. I think I can get it and work away in time. Fuck it, let's go. I knew there was another one. Come on! Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Oh my god, I made it. Okay. I'm gonna have to go die somewhere. I'm gonna try to make it into the water. At least, maybe. It depends on... how close is he? He didn't follow me. Oh, he didn't follow. Oh my god. We made it, boys. Oh, holy fuck. What a move. Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. I thought I was dead at the map room, man. I thought he fucking had me with the full combo and everything. That made me sweaty. I need a shower and I need a nap. That's fucking ridiculous. Oh my god. Imagine camping an obelisk for like 3 hours and then just losing it anyways, though. Imagine being those guys. Just like that, I was a wanted man. From that point on, they'd ask from time to time in the global chat if anybody knew where I lived. I laid in that spot for a good hour or so, just to make sure they hadn't followed me through the obelisk to scout around before I came back to retrieve my stuff. I will leave no traces. It occurred to me that if they bombed the vault and found the climbing gear inside, it would give them a hint as to where I really lived, so I went back to empty the vault a bit later, and thankfully by then they had moved on. Fuck these guys, I'm taking my map room and going home. It goes without saying that by this point I had given up on hitting Frog Clan, which is just as well. After all the delays and shenanigans, the Chinese got to them before I could anyways. Damn, they got cleared out. I'd say I feel bad, but I don't. As for owners, I did what I always do when I find a new enemy. I waited till they were either gone or offline and snuck in to do some heavy scouting. Similar to the docks we raided last episode, it's a jungle structure with 2 levels, an upper and a lower level. The upper level is large enough for an altar, your benches, storage, and all the rest, and the lower area had plenty of flat ground for a map room. This is one of the more meta locations in the game. If the last 2 bases were examples of how not to build, this was an example of how to build. Because unfortunately for me, they had built it up properly. They plugged up the upper section with drawbridges. A quick rundown on drawbridges. Their hitbox is slightly larger than the model, essentially meaning that it protects the structures around it up to a point, while also having 200,000 health. Their only 2 weaknesses is that you can climb over a drawbridge to place bombs behind it, or you can potentially bomb out the middle foundation that supports them if the drawbridge is placed too high, since actually that's the only one giving structural support to the gate. But if a drawbridge is placed properly, you won't be able to use either method. You'll have to bomb out all 200,000 health at once, or else they can just sit there and repair it indefinitely. And given that dealing that much damage at once is more or less impossible, this makes bases that are protected by drawbridges functionally unraidable, and it doesn't even matter how many bombs or clanmates you bring. Minus god tokens, of course. While scouting out their base, I took the time to place some land claim at a nearby pillar as well as along the ridge behind their base. I could use both of those locations to raid their base, whether that meant using a trebuchet or even summoning a god token. And I like to keep my options open, and if nothing else, it would just serve to troll them a little bit by encroaching on their land claim. And honestly, as far as I'm concerned, being annoying is a good enough reason to claim anything. I got the favor together in record time as well, but I was racing against the clock. They knew I had a jhebbal farmed up, and if I took more than a day to get my token in their base, I was going to miss my opportunity. Unfortunately, despite camping both Emir Priest locations for 8 fucking hours, I didn't get a single Archpriest in time for the raid window, and sure enough, they got their bubble up 5 minutes late. I would have had more than enough time to raid them if I had just gotten that Archpriest, and it looked like they were going to keep their bubble up indefinitely.
Funcrom takes everything.
To add insult to injury, some random guy from the Mitra Brothers bombed out the map room I had inside Supermaru, which was the map room I used the most often to get around. Fucking why? A map room outside the jhebbal dungeon. There's no storage on it, I didn't hurt any of them. What could you possibly gain from bombing a random map room? Can't believe I had to waste demon blood on this. Fucking assholes. They literally bombed the map room so they could put a vault there. They're probably thinking in their head, what's he gonna do? You'll see. You'll all see. My raiding options had become startlingly limited, but I had to do something to fight back. Even if you don't or can't win, you still have to try. So I sat atop my mountain home and I scratched my brain, thinking of a way I could strike back at my enemies using any means necessary. Mitra brothers would be easy enough. I knew where they lived and they had no god protection. Theirs was one of the first base I had scouted. And I knew where they kept their farming supplies since they had a drop site by the map room they had just bombed. For the other guys, I was gonna have to get creative. Raiding the main base was a no-go, and bombing out their secondary structures didn't really feel like enough. But I had an idea come to mind. Oh, you know what? How mad would they be if I walled off their obelisk? I've already got land claim there for my drop site.
Why is this bug still in the game?
And so my devilish plan was born. To fully wall off their obelisk, though, I'd have to clear out land claim. Owners themselves had some foundations by the obelisk, a clan that had left the area had a platform that was set to decay soon, and there was a tier 1 staircase from the obelisk to the river that had never been finished, which would ultimately be the hardest to remove, given that there were so many foundations stacked into the wall. Oh, and guess who owns it? Yeah, it's fucking Wet Bandits.
They also built their main tier 3 base just above the black heap outside my base. What are the odds that a clan would build their base on my front porch twice in a row and then also be in the way of my raid plans?
Come on.
They're everywhere! Get them off me! This would be even more difficult knowing that bombing out the land claims so close to owner's main base was going to be tricky because they were sure to respond to any explosions they heard, and if they saw me claiming any ground, they'd likely figure out what my goal was. But I'm nothing if not ambitious. Not only was I planning on raiding both clans, securing the obelisk, and raiding both of their farming structures, I made up my mind to do both in the same day and the same hour to keep the real goal of the raid a secret. Here was the plan. Phase 1 would be dealing with the Mitra brothers. I would use the jhebbal side that I already had on them since they weren't likely to react in time. Once I was finished there, I would rip off my bracelet and spawn at a trebuchet that I had pre-constructed outside of their base, complete with demon fire already in a chest for me to use. I don't even know why I'm putting anti-climb on this. I was gonna put this elsewhere, but there's some person built where I was gonna put this trebuchet, and we're winging it, and we're just gonna hope nobody notices this. It's always awkward when you warp to your raid structure and the whole clan's outside, and you just gotta be like, hey, it was a prank. I didn't mean nothing. I'm a role player. I wouldn't raid anybody. I would fire off the demon fire as quickly as I could and use that as a distraction to lure them away from their base and the obelisk. Once I was sure they were in the process of responding, I would die again and spawn at a bedroll nearby to the obelisk where I would store explosives and building pieces so that I can clear the land claim and then claim the obelisk for myself. This would be the trickiest part, since there was a lot of land to clear, and in Conan, if you don't relog, the land claims don't refresh. This would mean that I would have to relog in a server that has 40 people on it during raid hours twice before I could claim the land that I had cleared. To make issues more complicated, because I would need to use my bed and my bedroll to achieve the mobility I needed, I would have to leave a set of climbing gear at my map room on Noob River so that as soon as I was done at the obelisk, I would kill myself again, spawn in at the desert, get my climbing gear, climb up back to the base, re-establish my spawn location, respec, grab more bombs, head back down, hit the owner's tower by Heliograph Heights, their farm structure, then head to Superborough and hit the Mitra Brothers drop site located by my map room, all hopefully within the span of about an hour. Sounds simple enough. Would I succeed? Only time would tell, but as far as I was concerned, as long as I gave some kind of response, I could rest easy at night. Don't touch my map room. Wow, that loot despawned quick. I like to do it one at a time. Makes it feel more deliberate. That's probably enough time spent here though. I got places to be. Phase 1 went about as quickly as I expected it to. It was smooth, no complications, so I ripped off my bracelet and went on to Phase 2. Alright, we're blasting. Go ahead and drop everything I'm holding right now and get the rest of this demon fire shot. hope I'm still hitting. Am I hitting? Yeah, I'm still hitting. Okay, that was it. Let's fucking kill ourselves somewhere quiet and move on to the next step. They definitely heard that one. It's a good sign nobody found this. A little bold just leaving it in a box, but whatever. It's gonna start with half for now, just in case something fucky happens. Oh, I didn't even see that guy. That's okay, it looks like he's heading for the trebuchet. That's why you establish a proper decoy. You can't skimp on the bombs for those. Alright, time for logout number 1. Come on. Made it back in, just upgrading some of the claim I got down. We closed half the loop, we just have to get rid of that staircase now. Okay, staircase is gone. Some dude showed up to look around, but he didn't see me and he fucked off. I think they're confused, which means everything's going according to plan. Just gotta claim that last little bit and I think we're good. And there we go. I can't believe we pulled that off. In a bit of a surprise outcome, Phase 2, the most complicated portion of the raid, went off without a hitch. I went over to Heliograph Heights to use up the rest of my explosives before heading back to the base to restock. Beautiful, not a bad head start. Gonna need more booms though. There we go, atta boy. Fuck these horses too. One of them was asleep in here earlier, so he must have fucked off, but let's see what's inside. Wow, a bunch of tools and materials they could have used to bounce back. That's a goddamn shame. At the end of a sweaty raid hour, I had accomplished all of my objectives. And it didn't seem like they had noticed my true objective either. So I went back to the base and waited for my opportunity to build the cage. I was planning on doing it late at night so I could hopefully catch them before they realized it was built. I was camped here for hours the other day and now it feels awful safe. I built a little stage up here so I can look down on them. Who says PvPers can't roleplay? Beautiful. Gorgeous! And for what it's worth, I waited at the structure all morning just to make sure if anybody else got stuck there I could let them out. Gets lonely up here, boys. This wasn't indiscriminate terrorism. I had a target in mind. And though it took a while, eventually.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
It puts the lotion on its skin, or it gets the hose again.
Oh, like zoinks, they're gonna send in a report. I love it. One second it's, I'll eat your whole family. You know, when he's raiding a tier 1 base. But then you inconvenience him at all and it's, I'm telling mom. Admins, help, mommy. And without missing a beat, his clanmate's out right now ganking somebody on Noob River. He's calling this dude a bitch for not 1v1'ed him. Of course 1v1, he's on a horse with a combat for all, but you know, it's just... Once again, take a close look everybody. This is what your average hardcore PvPer looks like. So, in the end, was it worth it to use close to 200 explosives clearing land claim and a god token to raid 2 different clans for the crime of destroying a single map room and then killing me twice and not even taking much? As a matter of fact, yes. Satisfied with my response, I went home and hid away everything that I had left. But on my way home, I noticed something crazy. The Chinese actually had built a siege tower outside of their base. And I knew just the spot to sit back and watch. I could use that area that I had claimed behind their base to engage in some nice, relaxed voyeurism and watch somebody else stress through the raid for once. For what it's worth, these guys are cocksuckers, but they're not cheaters, so I didn't want them to lose against the Chinese, but all things considered though, when you're dealing with the Chinese, they're typically not very good if they're not cheating. So I was pretty confident that the Chinese were going to lose anyways, but I figured I'd sit back and watch anyways. 2 minutes. They lasted 2 minutes. They didn't get a single shot off. Wow. You know, I walked to the store in the snow because I didn't want to drive. I walked to get chips so I could kick back and watch this. What the fuck? It was over so fast. That's crazy.
Stop! He's already dead.
Wow, I didn't even know what the fuck happened. They got somebody in their siege tower before the raid even happened. I mean, I expected the Chinese to lose, and I was kind of hoping they would lose. Because, I mean, you know, if it's a choice between regular players and cheaters, you kind of have to pick the regular players, but I still kind of wanted a bit of a show, though. I'm feeling a little let down. So instead of being able to wrap up this episode with a nice cinematic bit of voyeurism, we're going to wrap it up with a bit of a raid autopsy here. A cautionary tale against spending too many resources on a poorly thought out plan. Wow, look at this tower. Not to brag or nothing, but I got a good 34 shots off, I think, for my decoy trebuchet. A decoy trebuchet. All these resources, and they lasted 2 minutes. There's good land across the river to build a trebuchet. There are trees in the jungle that could reach the base as well. The trebuchet range has been buffed incredibly far. There's not much you can do against a drawbridge base anyways, so I don't really know what their plan was ultimately, but they could have at least set off a couple of explosives. The anti-climb wasn't there, the base itself wasn't well protected, they had an enemy inside the tower, meaning he probably followed them in. All in all, I rate this raid 0 out of 10. Not great, not even entertaining. And so with that, I packed up all the stuff that I had and hid them in a secure location, a location that I might give away at some point. But for now, it's top secret. I needed to hop off for a bit anyways and edit this video. If you made it to the end of the video, as always, thank you for watching.
Change the world. My final message.